once again CG Talks with Lucas Bazyluk as our guest, our operations manager from GarageFarm.net. And right now, I would like to talk a little bit about a different topic, a topic of your maybe personal interests, because you are a regular runner who also takes parts in competitions and challenges like marathons. And I would like to know, how long have you been doing this, and where did the inspiration come from?
Yeah, running. Finally, something interesting we can talk about. I know, kidding. So yeah, running. Actually, I don't know if there was an inspiration. It's hard to pinpoint a single thing. I just remember it was 2015 when I decided to take like full control over my health. And while I was so in the process of making that, like, okay, I want to be healthier, want to get in better shape. In the process of doing that, I decided, okay, running is a way of doing that. Apart from like proper eating, like proper diet, like running would be the way to do it. And because I kind of liked running already when I was younger, when I was in school, I would take a part in competitions. Nothing crazy, but like running came easy to me. Basically, I kind of liked it. It wasn't the dread. Like for a normal person, running is a dread. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
too hard.
because
There's no pleasure in it.
in my head there's this Forrest Gump theme of running, right? Like he had that running experience from his childhood, and then at one point in his life he just decides he starts to run, right? And runs.
Yeah.
And people get like so many different approaches to that, right? So yours
Yeah.
was like the health one, right? So it was like a
Yes.
way of keeping shape. And like how does this like come in fall into place with marathons? Because like marathons are like a health
Mm.
challenge of itself, right?
Definitely. And it's because I'm a person who likes challenges. And so probably that's why if I do something, I want to do it right, and not just do it right. I want to attempt to do it great. Attempt. I don't know if I can do it or not, but at least I want to attempt. So my attempt to being or doing something great in running was, okay, marathon, because everybody speaks of marathons. Yeah, like everybody, when you hear, oh, someone ran a marathon, it's like, wow, right? It's just an amazing feat. Yeah, for a
Yeah,
regular person, running
like
like running is amazing, but
like
running to
climbing
run a
Everest.
marathon, yeah, this is like normal people don't do it basically. So I set a goal for myself. Okay, let's run a marathon. That's so not only run to get in shape, but actually let's with the goal in mind to run a full marathon. So that was the idea, and that's what like kind of kept me going, because I really wanted to achieve that goal, and it was really hard to get there. It took me a lot of time actually. I thought I'm gonna do it on my first year, so I started at the beginning of the year. I thought, okay, by the end of the year, I'm gonna, run in marathons. No, it did not. It did not happen. It took me 4 years, I think. 4 years. I went through a bunch of injuries. Like first year, because I wanted to go improve so much so fast. So I pushed myself really really hard, and that resulted in a bunch of injuries, injury after injury after injury. Like being inexperienced, don't know how to run. Well, it's kind of funny. I don't know how to run. It seems like everybody knows how to run, but actually we don't know how to run. Trust me, it takes a lot of practice. So yeah, it took me quite a lot of time to learn how to run properly, then build the endurance, of course, and then I ran my first marathon. I think it was in either the end of 2019, probably the end of 2019. Yeah, I ran my marathon. I was, wow, okay, this is what achieving goals mean. This was like I was ecstatic when I've done it.
Uh-huh. So I'm curious that like the way you are talking about this like goal achievement mindset that you implemented into running. That's probably also already a sort of answers my next question. But I was thinking that like whether running and being a designer or a manager run as one in your world, or are those totally separate ventures and independent from each other, or do you think that those two can bring like some essential experience from one to
Mm.
another?
I think running helps with everything, basically, with everything I do. And what I mean is, it just makes me a better person overall. And it might sound, I don't know, foolish or a mouthful, but it actually is. It made me a better person. So it kind of affects every aspect of my life. Health, of course, yeah. So I'm healthier. I have more energy, and if I have more energy, basically I can do more things in a day or in a given time versus a person who doesn't have that endurance and that much energy. So that definitely health, endurance, energy. It gives me a very positive, like I get a very positive, what is it, like a positive mindset from running. Like it makes me happy. So if I have a problem, if I'm stressed out, like running running helps me forget about all those problems. Not only like forget about the problems, but it releases all that stress. It's like it's gone. Whatever has happened to that point before the run, when I'm in the run or after the run, like all the problems are gone. They don't exist anymore. I come from the run, I'm a new person, like a newborn,
Mm-hmm.
almost a newborn person, a new start,
Like
a fresh start. So
yeah, like
definitely
catharsis.
that. Yeah. So definitely that in that way, it improves the quality of my life and everything else that I do. So you could say it's connected with everything, design or business, work, uh, my marriage, my family, everything I do in that way, I would say.
Yeah, so I'm curious. You said that running makes you happy, and also that you had that goal achievement mindset while you were reaching to that marathon milestone, and you've reached it, and you were ecstatic. And I was thinking how you dealt with okay, I've reached that marathon milestone, and what
Mm,
next?
what's
Was that
next?
hard, or did you find a way to find the like find the
Yeah, that's
life
a
after that, right?
yeah. This is a good question actually. Yeah, because I think not only like many people kind of struggle. Yeah, they have a big goal that they achieve, and then like, what's next? What happens after? So you thought like after achieving the goal, you're gonna be the happiest person in the world. Actually, not. The process of achieving the goal, the journey to achieving the goal, was the happy moment. Yeah, these were the happy times. The moment of achieving the goal, it is happy. I was ecstatic, but after that, like you have nothing left. It's like, okay, what else? What else is there to do? So yeah, I kind of felt like, hey, I've done what I set out to do. So what now? I took some time off from running, and when I say some time, it's like 2 weeks. I couldn't do more than that. And then I went for a run after that break, and I realized like I kind of discovered running again. It's funny because I've been running to that point. I've been running for 4 years, but then I rediscovered running again after that short break. After achieving my goal, I realized, okay, running is different than I thought it is. And I kind of felt different. I was lighter. I was faster. I had a different mindset as well, because previously I thought it's impossible to run this fast, I could run the distance because I've done it, but it's impossible to run this fast because only, elite athletes do that. It's not me. But then I kind of, in that moment, realized it's actually possible. So it's something switched in my head, and I realized, okay, let's continue running. And I set a new goal for the next year, like a very ambitious goal for the next year, and that kept me like trying, kept me kept not kept on, because I didn't need any motivation to run because I liked running, but something to strive towards. So I set a new goal and kept on training and trying to achieve a new goal the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wanted to like get back a little bit to what you said in the last question, where you said that you aimed for the marathon at the first year, and then you found that it was like pushing yourself too
Mm-hmm.
much, and it wasn't really possible. It took 4 years, in fact, to reach that goal that you set initially for 1 year. And I think like over and underestimating like tasks or the effort that's required is like one of the biggest struggles of uh, of managing or leading at any level. And how do you deal with it? Like, do you have any action template where you rate if something is worth digging or not, or do
Mm-hmm.
you yeah, or do you just like still search for a perfect solution for that, or maybe you have some well working
Mm-hmm.
techniques or ways of dealing with
Yeah,
that problem?
this is tough. Yeah, so we tend to overestimate what we can do in a short time, but we underestimate what we can do in a long term. I think we all tend to do it. So, for example, it's easier to overestimate what we can do in a single day. We say, "Oh, I definitely do it, yeah, by tomorrow, by the end of the day." And turns out, oh, there's more task involved. It's more complex. And okay, that's too much to do in one day. But on the other hand, when we want to learn something new, right, like pick up a new skill, we think like, oh, but it's impossible to learn it, right? But actually, if you spend like an hour every day for 2 months, you're gonna become very good at something, at least good, decent. If you continue doing it for 6 months, you're actually gonna be great at something. So usually, like we overestimate and underestimate what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to when it comes to work, I don't think there is a easy answer to that, easy solution. Definitely breaking things up, like breaking things down into smaller components, it helps in judging whether that's doable or if it's doable within the given time frame. But whether it's achievable or not, you don't know until you do it, unless you have done that in the past and you have experience. But if it's something new, you have no idea, right? So you actually have to start doing it as soon as possible. Take those first steps, start doing it, and then as you go, you gotta like readjust or plan further. Don't plan too far ahead. Just plan the
Mm-hmm.
first, I don't know, first phase. Once you reach the first phase, then you analyze, and then okay, this is when we plan the next phase, and so on and so forth. So maybe that's one way of doing that, because it's really hard to predict what's going to happen at the very end, especially when you do something new. It's true for software, definitely software development. It's true for design as well. Even though we have like an idea, a concept in mind what you want to create, the
Mm-hmm.
path to get in there, it can be so convoluted,
Yeah.
right?
That's kind of probably what drove all the agile approach to the software development and the idea behind it, right? Because you have some initial um, constraints or input data, so to speak, and then the project might just turn out to be something different than planned at the very
Exactly.
beginning in the process, right? So
Yeah.
you have to
So
be
yeah,
flexible, right?
exactly. That's true. You got to be agile, and every now and then have those moments in the project or whatever that is that you look back, right? You and see like where we are. Do we continue, or maybe we change things up, right? Or something else. definitely. Yes, this is a good way. Or also the
Mhm.
concept of MVPs, yeah, the minimal viable product, very very widely used in the in startups or in businesses, where you instead of building a product for years, like spending years on building a product before you show anything to a user or to a customer, you actually
Mhm.
build an MVP first and try to release it as soon as possible, something that
Mhm.
works already, and see what people say, right?
Hmm.
Get the
Yeah, I
feedback
think. Yeah,
early.
I kind of like relate to this one. Seeing like the Blender development, for example, they are developing the software so openly, like in the eyes of the whole community, and they release like some new features just in the way that you described, right? For example, like the geometry nodes concept, they just released
Hmm.
it, like the first batch. So, like you said, the minimal viable product, right?
Hmm.
So people could test it, and then they got the feedback, and they could like rethink it, reshape it to how it's really being used and how people would
Exactly.
like to
And
use.
most of the time, it's also cheaper doing that. It's cheaper because you, instead of, spending certain amount of money all the way through until you finish the product and then realize it, okay, but we spent money on the wrong thing, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
actually spend money in chunks and then spend it more wisely and maybe more efficiently as well.
Mm-hmm. And like really related to the part you said that we underestimate the things that we can do in the short term, and like overestimate that and underestimate the long term goals that we could achieve. And I had like experience of myself this year. I decided to learn a skill of touch typing because I never really learned that. I've always been watching the keyboard while typing, and
Mhm.
I realized that I need that skill for my daily job. Like I'm writing like things for my job, like video scripts, whatever. A lot of
Yeah.
writing in front of the computer. So I felt I needed that skill, and I've implemented a habit of doing that for 10 minutes every day. Like I wasn't able to maybe do it like actually every day, but most of the time I was able to stick that because it was like so small amount of the time. I've just like entered that into my daily routine, and I was really impressed how powerful it
Yeah.
is. Like really, it just takes like this 10 minutes of, but you have to stick to that, and that 10 minutes every day. And after half a year, I realized I have at least the basic skill. Well, it's not polished yet, but it doesn't cost
Yeah.
me like so much. It's so attainable. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. It's super powerful, but it's hard to realize until you actually do it. Yeah, experience it yourself.
Hmm. And I was wondering whether you are using, and you could specify any like casual management tools like or techniques that you couldn't imagine your life without, that you use on a daily basis or a monthly basis.
Yeah, right. So probably my life is built around routines, and I guess without routines, I wouldn't be able to do nearly as many things that I do. Because you have family, right? You have your hobbies. I run, like running during the season, the height of the like the at the top of the season. I spend a lot of time just running and preparing for my running. That's a lot of time. Then you have family, you have work, maybe you have entertainment if you do have time, right? So managing all those things is it's tough. There's only 24 hours in a day. So routines. I think routines help me a lot. Uh, so for example, doing certain things at a certain time, even on a certain day, always or most of the time, maybe not always, right? This helps me a lot to stay on that thing that I want to do and not deviate. And also it reduces this mental burden, because when you have to like every day think, oh, what am I supposed to do today or now, that's a mental energy you need to spend. So I remove that completely. I don't have that because everything is set for me already long ago. It's a routine that happens automatically basically. So getting up at certain time, starting your work at certain time in a certain environment, then doing your, I don't know, workouts certain days, certain times helps a lot. Then when you're at work, of course, having your workspace built so that you don't have distractions. For example, this is important to me personally. And those distractions could be different things, like simple, like the phone. Yeah, that's a huge distraction. So like putting that thing away and not checking it during the work, like work time, it's huge help. Like when I'm at work, I'm at work. Yeah, I spend that block of time only focusing on work. Also, not looking at Facebooks and Instagrams, or I don't know, ArtStation, maybe in this case, or YouTube on the second screen. That's very counterproductive. This sucks your time and your attention. So not doing those things, and it's part of my routine already. I just I don't have to even think about it. Just I never do them anymore, because that's how I've been doing, working and living for a extended period of time. So they just happen automatically. So I think this is I would advise anyone to try, like, build healthy habits and good routines.
Mm-hmm. So like a structure to your life that you can depend on. And I was wondering whether you have any kind of ideas on for people who might like find it their life a little bit chaotic. Like I think for creative people, it's like often the struggle, right, to keep the balance between the structure and like a rigid structure and some things that might happen like very unexpectedly, or uh, are there ways that you handle unexpected events or stuff like that might just break your routine that you have, and then you have to kind of like be flexible and maybe bend
Hmm.
the routine a little bit and then get back to your
Right.
daily.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, and it
Mm-hmm.
happens. It happens sometimes, and it's actually hard for me, because I really depend on my routines, and when something just doesn't happen, I this gives me stress already.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. I can't do something the way I always do. This is very stressful to me. But over the years, I learned to let go, and it's hard. It's hard, actually. Like, it's okay to not do it sometimes. It's still okay if you do it the next day, or the next week, but still do it. Yeah, if you take a short break from your routine or from the things that you're supposed to be doing, it's still fine, because then I focus on the, like, on the long term, or on the goal, like the final goal, right? I'm still moving forward, right? I'm still making progress, even though there was a small hiccup or a slowdown right now in this moment. It's fine, right? Because I'm still making progress. So that kind of helps. Um, I guess perspective. Yeah, like having perspective that those things happen, but still you are making progress, and you're getting closer to your goal, even if it takes a little bit longer than you want it to. Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
perspective.
perspective and focusing on the big picture. I guess
Yeah.
that's like a conclusion that we could derive from this conversation, like seeing the bird's eye view over what you've already achieved and what you're still
Yeah.
capable of achieving.
Right. And it's funny thing that you say it, uh, the perspective, but you also need to try to be able to zoom in. So zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, if you know what I mean. So in those hard moments that we just talked about, you need to have a perspective. So you zoom out, right? You look at the big picture. But then when you're in the task, you zoom in. You don't think about the big picture in that moment, right? You just focus on that one thing. You're close to it, and you focus on that thing until you finish it, and then maybe you can focus again on the bigger picture. So both are important at different times.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and the habits and routines are kind of like the rig for the machine to
Yeah,
work, like
the
for
skeleton. Yeah.
the camera to have the right operations, right? To be able to zoom in and zoom out at the right moments to make that perfect shot of your life. Okay, that's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I think that we can all derive a lot of inspiration from it, and I'm hoping that our audience also liked it. So if you have any questions or comments that you would like to ask our team and maybe Lucas, don't hesitate to comment.
Sure thing. Yeah. So thanks for having me. Enjoy the conversation. Nice to finally be a guest on our own podcast, CG Talks.
Yeah.
So
And
thanks.
that's like introducing also like the real people behind the whole business, and you can see that we are all in this together in that business, providing you the services to render, to make your daily life routines with rendering as painless as possible. So if you're in trouble with your deadlines, don't hesitate to use garagefarm.net render farm. And thanks for
Definitely give
listening.
us a try. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for listening and happy rendering.
Happy rendering.